I'll stick with the BlackBerry because I was very familiar with its demise. I watched it die in the hands of professionals in my industry. And so I never had a Furby, I never went to the Star Wars themed hotel.
Yeah, I don't think many people did.
So here I am, Bruce Campbell, sealed inside a cave with the last shreds of humanity's glorious past.
I am so excited for this because I am a massive Evil Dead fan, so this is an absolute dream come true.
Good, you have good taste.
Well, and first of all, I loved the movies that made us, so I was really excited hearing about this show, and then to hear that you were hosting, it just made me even more excited. And so how did you get involved with this project?
I think they called my agent. Sometimes it's just that simple. And, when you hear who's involved, Ryan Reynolds, Maximum Effort, Brian Volkweis, who is the director, and it's his company who put it all together. I thought it was a fun concept. And Ryan Reynolds is a guy who's a player. This is a guy on the move. He's got a gin, a soccer team, a mobile phone. So I guess it's time for a channel.
It was actually the first time I saw that he had his own channel. I was shocked.
Don't be shocked. It's Ryan Reynolds. He's a very, I don't think he acts anymore.
I think you're right on that. Do you prefer hosting duties like this? Because you are extremely good at it.
Hosting is fun. Did a short stint on Ripley's Believe It or Not. So I've done the hosting thing. I got my Screen Actors Guild card in Detroit doing what they call infomercials for car dealers, for car salesmen, and things that nobody would ever see. But it's all these things of explaining things to a camera, and you're demonstrating stuff. And so it was all very familiar territory for me. It was like crawling back into the womb.
Well, I remember that show you hosted on for Comic-Con, and it had similar vibes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm curious, with shows like this, as the host, are you given a detailed rundown of the product, or are you just reading the script and afterwards going, what on earth is this thing?
Well, let's not get too detailed here. A Furby is a Furby. I don't really need to know how a Furby was made. We just need to know how a Furby failed, why it failed, right? So I don't have to know about any of these. But, obviously I'm very familiar with many of the products that did fail. Like a BlackBerry, my agent is still crying that they took his beloved BlackBerry away. And it wasn't a bad device, but it didn't change. People need their buttons to change, and they needed to do different things, and so the iPhone really just blew it away.
Yeah, there's a great movie called BlackBerry that goes into all of that, and I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I don't need to know that much about BlackBerry.
So what is your favorite discontinued item or thing that you've covered so far on the show?
They have a lot, man. I gotta tell you, I think we did 10 episodes, 40 of these things. I'll stick with the BlackBerry because I was very familiar with its demise. I watched it die in the hands of professionals in my industry. And so I never had a Furby, I never went to the Star Wars themed hotel.
Yeah, I don't think many people did.
No, that's why it was discontinued.
I was very excited to see that one shown on there just because it is so recent, and it was such a big deal when it was announced. So I like that the show is able to span such a various decades.
Well, what our show demonstrates too is that you throw stuff up on the wall and not all of it sticks. Even Disney can fail at a Star Wars themed hotel. And this is a lot of bright people working at Disney, right? That enough people thought that was a good idea, and Bob Iger probably went, all right, green light that project. Somebody had to like it enough to do it. And when when something fails, nobody was involved in it. And when it succeeds, there are a lot of creators who are like, that's my movie. I worked on that. There are a lot of people who worked on the original Evil Dead movie that I've never heard of. They're like, I was there. I worked on that movie years ago. Did you? There are only 6 people who worked on that.
Well, and I think one unintended thing that comes from this show is kind of showing how nostalgia has a complicated relationship with people. And one example is that the Legend of the Hidden Temple, which is in episode 1 or 2, and it is a show that I loved as a kid, and spotlights on there as to why I was so successful. But then it was brought back, failed, and then just didn't become anything. So I think this show spotlights things that I wasn't even expecting to be spotlit.
Well, it's infotainment, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But television is no different. I mean, how many shows have tried to launch and lasted 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons? Some of them last 3 episodes. I remember when Charlie's Angels launched on television as a TV show. This thing went south immediately, and it was supposed to hit it out of the park. So you got to be careful. You never really know. I made a movie for the Sci-Fi Channel called Man with the Screaming Brain, convinced that it would be an immediate hit. And that thing couldn't get arrested.
Hilariously, I actually have a question about Man with the Screaming Brain.
Great. Yeah, good. I'm sorry.
Because I really enjoyed both My Name is Bruce and Man with the Screaming Brain. So have you had any thoughts of getting behind the camera again?
Yeah, I'm making a movie next spring in my little town in Oregon. It's just a silly comedy. I can tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah. Yes, as much as you want to talk about it.
Well, it's called Ernie and Emma. It's a really weird story with 0 bloodshed. So I'm not sure who's going to watch it, but I don't really care at this point. It's a guy whose wife just died, and she has really detailed instructions of what to do with her ashes. And some of them are fun journeys, and some of them are not, relating to their relationship. And ultimately, she's helping her husband prepare for a life without her.
And have you figured out what creative partners you'll have on that?
Yes.
Any actors we know? Any producers?
Well,
we know?
now here's the thing. We just had a big union strike, right? So I can do, because of my relationship with certain unions, I can do union or non-union stuff. So because within the union itself allows you provisions to do non-union stuff, but they don't talk about it. So I'm not scabbing, but I'm making a completely non-union movie next year.
Oh, that is very exciting. Was that something that you had formulated during the strike as something just in case the strike went on?
No, buddy of mine, Ted Raimi, the actor, researched into the Screen Actors Guild and found out that there was a clause that says if you're willing to give up your voting rights, and I never voted, if you're willing to not get a Screen Actors Guild award, and they were never breaking my door down, and you can't see free movies in LA, and I never did that either. So if you're willing to give those 3 things up, and that's literally it, you send them a note that says, I want to resign from being I want to become a dues-paying non-member and maintain financial core status. It's a bunch of boilerplate that you send in with your card, your union card. It's a terrifying thing to do. Yeah. And they change your status. Because look, an actor in my little town of Medford, Oregon, where are they going to work? Not all. You can't always find a Screen Actors Guild job. Not if you're working for Harry and David commercial or Airport Chevrolet. Those are not union jobs. So you have to allow actors to have that choice. And I want to continue to make low budget movies. I love the low budget environment. I love the lack of pressure when you make a low budget movie. You're really just having fun with your friends. And the only way to do that is, in many cases, non-union. So I'm a member of 4 unions, so I'm not a non-union guy, but I like the ability to go back and forth.
Yeah, I think that it allows a lot more creative freedom, and I think that the end product is so much more heartfelt. So
you can do stories about a guy and his dead wife, and no one cares because you're not spending $200 million on it.
Very, very true. Well, and thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that other people are able to watch Discontinued because
it's coming Thursday, November 30th, 8 p.m. What is it now? Fubo channel. It's the Maximum Effort channel on Fubo and Amazon Freebie. So just got to look it up, but it's coming like a freight train. And then they'll do, weekly episodes. There's 10 of them.
This TV show from the future is here to remind you to cherish the past by rediscovering things that were sadly discontinued.